Hey there, greetings everyone, and welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So today we're doing a episode of What's New. Yes, I know it's been a while since I've done one of these, but I have lots of time and I don't actually have props for any of these What's News most of the time because I haven't purchased the albums yet, but I have listened to them and that's what we're here to do. So today we're doing Yes's Mirror in the Sky, which is their newest release, coming out on, I'm going to take my glasses down here for a second, coming out on May the 19th, 2023, so it's been a couple weeks now that it's been out. Probably would have done it on the first day if I had had an opportunity, but I'm getting to it now and that's all that's important. So the label is Inside Out label, also Sony Music as well. Steve Howe is the producer of the album. The length is 63 and a half, 64 minutes in length. Curtis Swartz Studios in Ardling, West Sussex, and Fame's Project Studio in Skopje, I think it's pronounced, Skopje, North Macedonia. Okay, so then we have the members of Yes at this point in time, because there's been a bit of a change because Alan White passed last year, as you know. So we have Steve Howe on guitars and vocals, lead vocals as well. Jeff Downes on keyboards, synthesizers, Celeste organ, piano, and synthesizers. John Davidson on vocals and some guitars as well. Billy Sherwood on bass and vocals, and Jay Shellner is now the full-time drummer and percussionist for the band, taking over Alan White's position. Not a really surprise. He's been with the band for a while. Definitely was Alan's friend, and Alan would have been pleased that he was the one getting the job. There really wasn't much debate over it. He was just included. He'd been with the band, so they just made him a full-time member now. Okay, so we have 9 tracks on this album, same as the last album. Has the first disc has most of the music, and then there's a second disc with 3 songs on it. I'm not really sure why the record label's doing this. Clearly all 9 of the tracks could go onto one disc. They did this with the Quest as well. Not particularly sure why they want to do it that way, but that's the way they're wanting to do it, and Yes seems to be okay with it, so I'm not going to argue with anybody about it. Okay, so talk about the album in general first before I speak about any of the specific songs. I like this album more than the Quest. The Quest had that one song at the beginning of the album which I think was good. It was a really good song, but the rest of the album was kind of weak in some ways. It was almost like elevator music in some way. It might have been better as a Steve Howe solo album. This one has some of that Steve Howe solo album type to it as well, but not nearly as much. The tracks are heavier overall throughout the album. Doesn't have that one dominant song, but overall I think the music is stronger. There's more keyboards on this, which I was glad to see, because I think that Jeff Downes did not participate as much in that last album as I would have liked to see him, but he's participating more in this album. Steve Howe's guitar ability is of course not without question here, but he has a lot more acoustic parts on this album than he normally has on a lot of Yes albums. But they're still very well done. The drumming, of course, is good. Jay Shellner is a good drummer. And I've always liked John Davidson's vocals. I know that some people who follow Yes prefer the other guy, and I'm not going to get into that controversy at all. The other guy, if he was here, I'm sure I would enjoy it just as much, or maybe more. But he isn't, so we're going with what's here, and this guy is good. I like him. Okay, so the album is not, like I said, not as mellow as the Quest. It's a little bit more up-tempo. There's a lot more going on here than was on the last album. I think the songs overall are stronger as well. On the last album, I think after the first song, it kind of dropped a bit, and then the next four weren't too bad. Then after that, it became very unmemorable. I think this one is a little stronger from top to bottom. Okay, so you have a couple of longer tracks as well, and I think there's 3 songs that are over 9 minutes, and then the rest are kind of like throw in 4-minute, 5-minute songs. So, like I said before, Jeff Downes doing a little more instrumentation here, his playing is more frontal here than it was on the last album. That's the best way to put it. So let's start by talking about these tracks a bit. So we have the first track, which is called Cut from the Stars. Pretty much the idea came for this from Davidson. His brother and father kind of pushed him into getting a little bit into astronomy and that, and so he wrote this song based on that kind of push by his family. It's got a clean sound, but then most albums nowadays are pretty strong. They have a pretty clean sound. There's a lot high production on this album, as there is on most albums nowadays. You don't really get that kind of raw sound that you once got, unless it's planned to be that way, but pretty much, yeah, you don't get that as much as you used to. The bass parts on this song and throughout most of the album are pretty strong. I'm not a huge fan of Billy Sherwood. I would have preferred, some other bass player. There's a couple I would have preferred over him, but he's not a bad bass player by any stretch, and I'm not trying to knock on him. He's just not one of the guys that I prefer, but he's pretty strong. If you having him on this album, they should have also used his vocals a little bit more. Steve Howe was better. His vocals were better on this album than they were on the predecessor, but still, I think Steve Howe should stick with the guitar and just leave the vocaling to other people. It's a bit of a mellow song, but some good strong vocals, and the keyboard parts are good on this particular track as well. Of course, Davidson sings this, and I like his voice. I think it doesn't sound exactly like John Anderson, but it's within the range and has a familiar sound to it. He was with a Yes cover band before. They wouldn't have taken him if he didn't have something like that to him. So very good. All Connected, which is the second tune on the album. There's a little bit of a slide guitar sound to this particular song. I didn't mind. I don't think it is slide guitar, but it has that kind of style that Steve Howe, I guess, likes to play, which is almost a slide guitar style. Not always. He doesn't play this always, but on some tracks he does do that. And it's, of course, another mellow song, but not in this kind of range as it was in the Quest album. The next track out, Luminosity, another fairly lengthy track here. Opens with a nice percussion part and keyboards together. Pretty solid sound there. I like the acoustic parts on this, and there's this kind of a catchy beat that goes through the song, which it's a Yes catchy beat. It's not outside of the realm of Yes music, just not as heavy as some of the stuff you would have got in the past. Okay, the fourth song, Living Out the Dream. It has kind of an intriguing guitar part at the beginning, which he does play throughout the song at different points. Kind of a catchy, upbeat tempo song as well. So, and the vocals, of course. I think this is the first one, if I'm not mistaken. I just want to see. I did make some notes about that. Yeah, there are 3 or 4 tracks. Oh yeah. This is the first one of the tracks that kind of has that duet vocal going with Steve Howe and John Davidson. It's not bad. I think doing the duet is better than Steve doing his own vocals, because he did that on the last album. I think it sounded really weak, and clearly he hasn't got the vocal style that he once had even then, and he never was that great of a vocalist. Chris Squire was much better. But doing the duet with John Davidson, it's not too bad. Davidson kind of pulls up his weaker spots, I think. So sounds not too bad on this particular track. I do like this track quite a bit, actually. Okay, the next track is Living Out. Oh, we just did that one, sorry. The next track is the title track, Mirrors of the Sky. A bit of a heavier song, at least initially. It does have some nice guitar bits and a good strong kind of. I guess I need my glasses for this. I forgot I took them off. I was wondering why I'm having a hard time reading. Yeah, a nice, strong, diverse part to the particular song, which I think is good. And there's an orchestra. They use the orchestra from the Macedonia, from Famer's projector studio. They do have the Macedonian orchestra there that they use here, and it's not too bad. It adds some depth to the music. Yeah. So the next track, Circle of Time. This is the track that has a strong vocal presence here by Davidson. I think it's one of his stronger tracks. It's a more of an acoustic track here, with some very Yes-like, kind of reminiscent of. It doesn't sound like this, but it has that kind of turn of the century sound that you got off of Going for the One. I don't think it's in that same range. That song was much better organized and put together, but it definitely gives me that vibe. I get that vibe when I listen to it. So the next track out, Unknown Place. So now you're getting onto the second disc here, which again, I'm going to say I don't understand why they couldn't have put all 9 songs on the first disc. I mean, it's not like the disc could easily handle it, but they decided to put a second disc out for some reason. And they did this on the predecessor as well. And I think it's the record label and not the Yes per se. Okay, so you have a nice kind of church-sounding organ throughout this particular track, which I like. This is one of those tracks I changed my ranking on it. I went from a 4 to a 5 and then a 6 and then back to a 5. There's parts about it I really like. Other parts about it I don't like at all. So, I kind of mid-ranged it, I guess. But I do like this kind of church-sounding organ. And I think that's the Celeste. I think they used the Celeste on this, which sounds really good. It sounds fantastic, actually. The acoustic guitar opening, a bit of a tinny sound, I guess, but really nice. Steve Howe vocal parts, a little bit weak, but bolstered a bit by the backing vocals. But he tries to do more of a lead vocal part here, and I don't really care for it too much. He has a little bit more guitar riffing going on here than some of the other tracks. I wished he would do more of that heavy guitar riffing that he's capable of, that really screeching stuff that he did on Drama, which was fantastic. The second to last song, or 1 Second Is Enough, track number 8, I guess. It's a mellow rhythm song. Again, the twin vocals, they don't sound too bad. I like Davidson supporting him in the twin vocal range. I guess they probably figured when they listened to the first album with him doing a lot of kind of leading vocals that he doesn't really quite measure up. So having the twin vocals sounds a lot better, I think. And then the last track on the album, Magic Potion. So this is a nice up-tempo guitar part, another twin vocal, and the guitar is pretty good here. It's pretty strong guitar parts on this whole particular track. There's another shorter track as well. I did like this track quite a bit. So I gave 6s to the first, third, fifth, sixth, and the last track, and the other ones I gave 5. So a pretty mellow album, even by Yes standards, but clearly a better album than The Quest, and some better overall songs. I think with time this album will grow on me more. I think it's an album I will purchase. I actually probably would have had it by now if not for all this stuff, but I haven't been to my record store for a while, and I know they have it there. I probably will buy it, But of course, I'm not paying no $30 like I did for the Quest. I will wait a few months if I have to get it. It's got to be gotten because it's part of my collector's thing that I like to do, which is unfortunate for me and my wallet, but that's the way it is. Anyways, I hope you enjoy this video, this kind of critiquing the new Yes album, and I hope that you will like and subscribe and enjoy the video. So have yourself a good afternoon and a good day. Take care.